right? I was in support of, masking in the schools as long as possible. As a teacher myself, I had to deal with the kind of dramatic switch over to online and many different ways of operating. My main research lines are still completely on hold because they're primarily with very young kids who are not yet able to be vaccinated. So I totally get it. You just do what you can. It's a little bit fly by the seat of your pants. And I think parents, what they saw was maybe not what they were expecting to see. And I don't think that that's reflective of what goes on in the classroom. And so I think that a lot of people ended up bringing some concerns to the board that maybe weren't necessarily accurate to how things more typically were.
Students need to have maybe not what we would traditionally think of as a well-rounded education.
It seems like there's some great relationships that have been made. I am a little bit concerned by the fact that when you go to the Carroll County Public Schools website and look at the description of the SRO, it's very focused on things like arrest and, it seems to be very much about crime and criminality. And while I understand that the role of the SRO is not for discipline, it's really to deal with, safety and security issues, I think that the way that it's framed maybe makes it seem actually a little bit scarier than it might be, right? And I also know that for many kids of color, they tend to be the ones that are most often affected by some of the actions within the system. And so I think that I am a fan of models of restorative justice. I think it's really important that we work on prevention rather than just being reactive.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone missing from Prince George's County Public Schools over the last few years. In fact, we obtained the records that show in some cases staff members are suspected of stealing money from student fundraisers, but the school district chose not to pursue criminal charges. Lindsay Watts joins us now with a story you will only see on Fox 5.
Crossland High School, 2014. Students had raised nearly $14,000 for their activities fund. The money vanished. An internal school audit says it appears that the bookkeeper defrauded Crossland High School. A school spokesman says the bookkeeper was disciplined, agreed to pay back the money, and is no longer an employee, but police were not involved. Central High School, 2016. Auditors investigating theft from school sporting events found over $4,700 missing. They said staff manning the gates should pay restitution. Same school, 2017. Nearly $3,700 raised by the football program also disappeared, according to auditors. At Fort Washington Forest Elementary, auditors say a bookkeeper was responsible for $3,300 of missing money. And at Gwen Park High School, auditors discovered a staff member was running a youth basketball camp at the school for 11 years and never paid facility fees. While obviously not a suspected theft case, auditors say the school district lost out on $500,000 from those unpaid fees.
We've combed through a bunch of school audits to find these examples, but there are even more than we've mentioned. According to auditors, in just the last 3 years, more than $800,000 was either missing or unaccounted for throughout the school system. It was a topic of a recent budget meeting here.
I'm frustrated by the fact that we have bookkeepers or
also in Prince George's County, a veteran elementary school teacher accusing a principal of physically assaulting her at school in front of the students. Now today, we learned that
concerns right now at Potomac and Prince George's County Public Schools in general is their lack of awareness.
She's not the only one concerned. In December, an 8th grader told the school board that violence and sexual harassment had girls in her school feeling unsafe.
It feels like here you have to protect yourself because nobody else at the school will.
Prince George's Schools told us it's committed to ensuring safe learning environments. It added it's also expanded student social emotional supports with additional mental health clinicians to provide counseling. But Allen feels more could be done to keep students and staff safe.
Incredibly tense and emotional, nearly 2-hour sentencing hearing held today in Prince George's County, where we heard testimony from even 13-year-old King Douglas's little sister, the family calling for justice, asking for this now 14-year-old suspect to be held in some kind of capacity. The judge, though, saying that it is his job to follow Maryland law when it comes to juveniles, ordered this suspect under indefinite supervised probation. Victim's mother says this is a slap in the face.
To completely allow this boy to have freedom after a murder and saying, you know, I understand how serious the crime is, and then allow this boy, there's no worse crime than murder. And you allowed this child to get off on a murder case that he admitted to. It's crazy to me. It's heartbreaking. It's sad. I'm worried. I'm really worried for our juveniles.
Developing in Prince George's County, we're learning more about the two teens charged as adults in a deadly shooting in a mall in Hyattsville. On your screen here, Jabri and Jamal Hawkins, the 16-year-old twins, are from Northeast D.C. Investigators tell Scott Broom, even at age 16, police have dealt with the two boys a lot.
16-year-old D.C. twins Jabri and Jamar Hawkins have had, quote, numerous contacts with Metropolitan Police, according to court documents in this case. Yet they were armed and roaming with two other boys in a Prince George's County shopping mall Friday night when an argument broke out with another group of four, police reported. Jabri Hawkins is charged with shooting and killing 22-year-old Daquan Dockery, who fired back with his own gun before collapsing inside a store, according to investigators. Jamal aided and fled with his brother, the documents say. Prince George's County investigators reported that several MPD officers knew exactly who the brothers were. When security camera pictures were circulated of the case, the MPD identifications led to the boys' arrest, documents said. Now, juvenile records are sealed, so WUSA 9 cannot report on the nature of the previous contacts the twins have had with MPD. But faced with spikes in violent crime, both MPD Chief Robert Conti and Prince George's County Police Chief Malik Aziz have called this year for more accountability in the juvenile system after the arrests of alleged repeat youth offenders. This afternoon, MPD Executive Assistant Chief Ashan Benedict talked about the issue.
So in this particular case, they're working with our commander from the 6th District, his patrol officers, looking at what they knew about the community that they were investigating, the people that were operating that community, the drivers of violence.
According to the most recent report from D.C.'s Department of Youth Services, keeping offenders at home and making incarceration a response of last resort are the two top priorities of the agency. In the district, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.
There's a charter school right here. They're elementary school. There's a high school here, too. And these parking lots were filled with spectators as the police officer came here responding to noise complaints and suddenly got trapped by the crowd. This is video that Fox 5 was able to obtain from someone who was in the crowd. It was about 11:30 p.m. Saturday, and you can see just this swarm of people closing in. You can hardly see the squad car here. Look for that orange cone. That's on top of that police cruiser. People are jumping up and down on the roof and pounding on windows. We also found closer shots shared on Instagram, including this one from Mogo PG News. People pounding on the car and kicking it, putting large dents in the side, jumping on top, flashing middle fingers. One person even opens the cruiser's gas tank, but someone intervenes and pulls that guy away. Another shuts the cover as the cruiser is finally freed. Now, we spoke a few minutes ago with the communications director for the school administration here. Glenda Washington tells me that she was shocked by what she saw on video.
Chesapeake Lighthouse Foundation and its schools are safety conscious. We are concerned, want to make sure children feel safe, even on the weekends when they're not here. We are going to do all we can to support the police and see what we can do to help them.
In Prince George's County, the chair of the county's Board of Education, Juanita Miller, says she intends to stay on the job. Now, earlier this week, the person who appointed her to that job, County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, called on Miller to resign. This all comes after the State Board of Education issued a notice of charges against Miller of misconduct in office, willful neglect of duty and incompetence. And in a statement today, Miller called those charges unfounded and frivolous.
I am a fan of, models of restorative justice. I think it's really important that we work on prevention rather than just being reactive. I think, some of these diversion programs trying to keep kids out of the criminal justice system is really what we need to be doing. I do think we need to bulk up mental health programs.
young people who are committing carjackings, it is outrageous. It is concerning. It is heartbreaking. In 2022, we've had 58 individuals, young people who were charged in our system with carjackings. Of those that have been adjudicated, 10 of those young people have been placed in facilities. 23 of them have been placed on probation, and about 23 or so cases are pending. And so we will continue to make appropriate recommendations for all young people who have committed crimes in our community.
And what's clear to us, and I know that I don't speak rocket science, it ought to be clear to everyone, something is not working. The chief will talk about this shortly, but we are arresting and re-arresting the same children and adults who are committing crimes in our community. For example, we have 61 adult carjacking arrests that we have made so far this year. Of those, 45 have prior arrest and 40 have a prior arrest for a crime of violence or firearm possession, and 9 have prior arrest for carjackings. We've seen a wave of crime this summer across the region and here in Prince George's County. And you should know, and I believe that this is absolutely astounding, that August was the single deadliest month in Prince George's County's history. We have had over 350 carjackings this year, which represents a 52% increase over just last year. And just to give you context for that number, we had 91 carjackings in 2019. And so we have seen that number escalate every single year until we are at a point now where we have 350 this year. We're finding that each year, not only do we have more carjackings, but each year we're also arresting more juveniles. So it's clear that the problem is what happens after the arrest, or in our case, what doesn't happen. Over the past year, I have held, for all of you, multiple press conferences and even held a crime summit in April and promised to put the entire force of this government behind this issue. I promised that we would put forward every resource that we had to combat the rise in violent crime and invest in our youth who deserve to be protected. I promised that every child who applied for a job would get one this summer through our Summer Youth Enrichment Program, and we did just that. We employed over 6,000 youth between the ages of 16 and 22 just this summer. I promised you as well that each child who applied for a position in the Alsobrook Summer Passport Experience would also have an opportunity to receive enrichment in dozens of fields. We did just that, and we gave those opportunities to over 1,000 youth this summer. We recognized as well that mental health issues were driving some of the crime that we've been experiencing both among our youth and adults. So we opened a new mental health care facility and addictions care facility this year, the first of its kind to ever open in Prince George's County. And we have plans as well to further expand health services in the county. We also started, and I want to thank Pastor Tony Lee, I have seen him here this morning, but we started the Hope in Action program with over a dozen nonprofit partners as a part of our Hope Collective, providing wraparound services to youth and young adults, to include mental health services, after-school programming, mentoring, reentry services, and more. And so I could go on and on and on, but the fact of the matter is we have spared no expense or resource at trying to address the issue of violent crime in our county. And in fact, we've seen some progress in our efforts. Before August came, we were down 30% in homicides in Prince George's County, 30%. And even with the horrible month that we had in August, we are still down 15% in terms of where we were last year. But the truth of the matter is we are still seeing concerning levels of crime. And far too often, we're seeing that many of the carjackings that we have experienced in our community are being perpetrated by children. Juvenile arrests have more than doubled from this time last year. Our officers have arrested an eye-popping 430 kids. Of the 84 juveniles arrested for carjacking so far this year, 55 of those juveniles have prior offenses. 34 had prior gun or violent crimes, and a half of all of those kids who we have arrested for carjackings were under 15 years old. Now, we can sit here and we can talk statistics all day long, but I want to reiterate that these are children committing these crimes, targeting other children and targeting adults. Armed and dangerous children. Those are two very, very difficult words for me to even put together. Armed and dangerous children. Over the past year, every time that I've promised to put every government resource that we've had behind this issue to help our kids, I have also reinforced the fact that it is no different today, and that is that the government alone cannot solve this problem. We need every piece of our system working together to include our community. So today, I'm going to just put it very bluntly. Somebody has got to take responsibility. At this point, these kids don't just need a hug, they also need to be held accountable. I know this isn't the popular thing to say, but the truth of the matter is, it's a fair question. Where are their parents? Where are the aunties? Where are the uncles and other family members?